Removing negative identity identifiers. There are three basic ways of removing negative identity identifiers from your identity. Each one requires that we consciously change the way we look at something. The first way of removing a negative identity identifier would come through a bad experience. For example, you identified yourself with a violent rock band who sang of anarchy. Years later, you find out your hero lead singer was a drug addict and eventually died of an overdose. This bad experience changed the way that you looked at that singer and consciously rejected him and as much of what he stood for as part of your identity. Another way of removing a negative identity identifier would be that through a good experience. As an example, there's a small child who almost drowned in a pool, in which he had then identified water as something scary and gained a fear of water. Throughout his life, he sat on the sidelines while other children played in the water. And one day, while watching his friends have so much fun in the water, the excitement and fun he saw with those kids invited him to bravely get into the water, and eventually he started having fun. His fear of water has now been conquered. He consciously changed the way he looked at water, now in a more positive way. A third way of removing a negative identity identifier would be that through a paradigm through education. As a young boy who previously identified himself as a pirate at a young age, began reading a true history of pirates, the child discovered that they were over-glorified in the books that he had read as a child. He began to get the sense of the reality that they were nothing but a gang of robbers, thieves, and murderers. Through this education, this child consciously rejected the way he identified himself with pirates, thus removing a negative identity identifier. In future courses, you will learn many examples to fully understand what a negative identity identifier is and how to exchange them for positive ones.